When it became rumored among the sailors that Zaratustra was on the ship, for a man from the blissful island had gone on board at the same time as he. A great curiosity and expectancy arose, but Zaratustra was silent for 2 days and was cold and deaf for sorrow, so that he responded neither to looks nor to questions. But on the second day he opened his ears again, although he still remained silent. For there were many strange and dangerous things to hear on this ship. Zaratustra, however, was a friend to all who take long journeys and do not want to live without danger. And behold, his tongue was loosened, and the ice of his heart broke. Then he started to speak thus.
To you, bold venturers and adventurers, and all who have embarked with cunning sails upon treacherous seas. To you who are intoxicated by riddles, who take pleasure in twilight, whose soul is lured by flutes to every treacherous abyss. For you do not desire to reach for rope with cowardly hand. And where you can guess, you hate to calculate. To you alone do I ask this riddle, that I saw the vision of the most solitary man.
Lately I walked gloomily through a deathly, grey twilight, gloomily and sternly with compressed lips. Not only one sun had gone down for me. A path that mounted defiantly through boulders and rubble, a wicked, solitary path that bush or plant no longer cheered, a mountain path crunched under my foot's defiance. Striding mute over the mocking clatter of pebbles, trampling the stones that made it slip. Thus my foot with effort forced itself upward. Upward, despite the spirit that drew it downward, drew it towards the abyss. The spirit of gravity, my devil and arch-enemy. Upward, although he sat upon me, half dwarf, half mole, crippled, crippling, pouring lead drops into my ear, leaden thoughts into my brain.
Zaratustra! 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 You stone of wisdom! You have thrown yourself high, but every stone that is thrown must fall. Zaratustra! You stone of wisdom! You projectile! You destroyer of stars! You have thrown yourself high, but every stone that is thrown must fall. Condemned by yourself and to your own stone throwing. Oh, Zaratustra! Far indeed have you thrown your stone, but it will fall back upon you.
Thereupon the dwarf fell silent, and he long continued so. But his silence oppressed me, and to be thus in company is truly more lonely than to be alone. I climbed, I dreamed, I thought, but everything oppressed me. I was like a sick man wearied by his sore torment, and reawakened from sleep by a worse dream. But there is something in me that I call courage. It has always destroyed every discouragement in me. This courage at last bade me stop and say, "Dwarf, you or I?"
For courage is the great destroyer, courage that attacks. For with every attack there is a great triumphant shout. Man, however, is the most courageous animal. With his courage he has overcome every animal. With a triumphant shout he has even overcome every pain. Human pain, however, is the deepest pain. And where did man not stand at an abyss? Is not seeing itself, seeing the abyss? Courage is the best destroyer. Courage that attacks. It destroys even death. For it says, "What was life? Well then, once more." but there is a great triumphant shout in such a saying. He who has ears to hear, let him hear.
Then something occurred which lightened me, for the dwarf jumped from my shoulder, the inquisitive dwarf, and he squatted down upon a stone in front of me. But a gateway stood just where we had halted.
Behold, a gateway, dwarf. It has two aspects. Two paths come together here. No one has ever reached their end. This long lane behind us, it goes on for eternity. And that long lane ahead, there lies another eternity. They're in opposition, these paths. They abut on one another. And it is here, at this gateway, that they come together. The name of the gateway is written above it. Moment. But if one were to follow them further, and ever further and further, do you think, dwarf, that these paths would be in eternal opposition?
Everything straight lies. All truth is crooked. Time itself is a circle.
Spirit of gravity, do not treat this so lightly, or I will leave you squatting where you are. Lamefoot and I have carried you high. Behold, this moment. From this gateway, moment, a long eternal lane runs back. An eternity lies behind us. Thus I spoke, and I spoke more and more softly, for I was afraid of my own thoughts and reservations. And then I heard a dog howling nearby.
Had I ever heard a dog howling in that way? My thoughts ran back. Yes, when I was a child, in my most distant childhood. Then I heard a dog howling in that way. Where had the dwarf gone now? And the gateway? And all the whispering? Had I been dreaming? Had I awoken? All at once I was standing between wild cliffs, alone, desolate in the most desolate moonlight. But there a man was lying, and there the dog, leaping, bristling, whining. Then it saw me coming, then it howled again, then it cried out. Had I ever heard a dog cry so for help? And truly, I'd never seen the like of what I then saw. I saw a young shepherd, writhing, choking, convulsed, his face distorted, and a heavy black snake was hanging out of his mouth. Had I ever seen so much disgust and pallid horror on a face? Had he perhaps been asleep, and then the snake had crawled into his throat, and there it had bitten itself fast? My hands tugged and tugged at the snake. In vain. They could not tug the snake out of the shepherd's throat. And then a voice cried from me, "Bite! Bite its head off! Bite!" Thus a voice cried from me. Thus a voice cried from me.
My horror.
My horror.
My horror. My hate.
My hate.
My disgust.
My disgust.
My pity. My pity.
My pity. All my good and evil cried out of me with a single cry.
You bold men around me, you adventurers, and those of you who have embarked with cunning sails upon undiscovered seas, you who take pleasure in riddles, solve for me the riddle that I saw, interpret to me the vision of the most solitary man. For it was a vision and a premonition. What did I see in allegory? And who is it that must come one day? Who is the shepherd into whose mouth the snake thus crawled? Who is the man into whose throat all that is heaviest, blackest, ill thus crawls? The shepherd, however, bit as my cry had advised him. He bit with a good bite. He spat far away the snake's head and sprang up. And no longer a shepherd, no longer a man, a transformed being, surrounded with light, laughing, Never yet on earth had any man laughed as he laughed. Oh, my brothers, I heard a laughter that was no human laughter. And now a thirst consumes me, a longing that is never stilled.
My longing for this laughter consumes me. Oh, how can I endure still to live? And how can I endure to die now?